It's been 2 weeks since the blackout. 7 states, 43 financial systems, millions left in the dark. And the only name anyone could link it to was a ghost, Lucas Vance. But the truth? Lucas hadn't touched a keyboard in days. He wasn't in hiding. He wasn't captured. He was watching. Somewhere in the dry outskirts of Nevada, deep off-grid, a solar-fed server farm blinked with quiet fury. In one of its encrypted partitions sat a file he hadn't opened, not even written, labeled VX07 Chimera. It wasn't his. He didn't know who wrote it, but it had his fingerprints all over it. The FBI had made their move. Operation Emberglass expanded to over 300 active surveillance agents. Global sting ops were underway in Berlin, Seoul, São Paulo. Yet none of them had tracked the actual breach point. VX07 was like vapor reactive, self-migrating and evolving. And then came the first real casualty. On October 26th, Horizon Exchange, a private digital asset bank known for catering to offshore elites, vanished. Not shut down, not frozen, vanished. Every asset, every backup, every internal ledger, gone. In its place, a single encrypted message carved into their firewall. The system is the inside job. It wasn't just an attack on money. It was a strike on trust. 42 years old, a former NSA cryptanalyst turned rogue consultant, sharp, unshakable. She'd worked with Lucas once, before Mirage even had a name, before the internet realized what it had created. She hadn't heard from him in over a year, until her private server blinked to life at 2:14 a.m. with a message, "Need your eyes." Now, LV. Sylvia didn't ask questions. She flew to Nevada with nothing but a Faraday-shielded laptop, 3 burner phones, and the 1 USB drive Lucas had given her in case everything went wrong. Inside that drive was a dormant project Lucas had called Cerberus, a digital watchdog, a silent guardian that ran beneath his scripts, flagging changes to any known code he'd ever written. VX07. Cerberus didn't flag it. But Chimera, Cerberus didn't just flag it. It screamed. It wasn't just a variant of VX07. It was a counter-virus, a kill switch. But here's where it got dangerous. Chimera could only be activated from within the infected system, meaning someone had to go in. And there was only one person insane enough to try. October 29th, 3:47 a.m. Lucas sat in a cold desert trailer, staring at 2 monitors, one showing Chimera's activation protocol, the other, an open video chat. On the other end, a face he hadn't seen before. Obscured, masked, distorted, zero trace, voice synthetic, yet deliberate. VX07 isn't mine either. It was bred, not built, fed on your code, nurtured in your silence. You created a skeleton. Someone else gave it breath. Lucas leaned in. Then what are you? I'm the one trying to close the gates you opened. Then silence. Before the screen went black, one final message flickered. Null origin is not a person, it's a decision. Lucas knew he didn't have days anymore. He had hours, maybe minutes. So he did what only Lucas Vance could do. He opened a port not out, but in. 3:07 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. A minor investment firm in Manhattan reported unusual activity in their sandbox environment. Dozens of test accounts began replicating, artificial users spawning from a dormant branch in the system. Each account was tagged with a single string of metadata. LV, reclaim V1. Lucas had entered the game again, except this time, he wasn't stealing. He was scanning, mapping, analyzing VX07 from the inside out, looking for a weak point. But the deeper he dove, the stranger it became. VX07 wasn't just code. It behaved more like an organism. It rewrote logic, questioned inputs, even responded to stimuli. And buried deep within one of its recursive structures, he found it. A directory titled Mother. Inside, archived logs, comm protocols. One file caught his attention. Auth log 3-07 am.wav. He played it. A distorted voice filled the room. Not his, but somehow familiar. Initiate cascade. Test chimera. Time lock for October 13th. Vance will take the fall. His blood went cold. This wasn't a hacker war. This was an experiment. He had been the control variable. Back in DC, Sylvia Tron walked into an unlisted meeting room inside a private defense contractor's building. She slid a printout across the table. A photo from 2015. A young Lucas, smiling, holding a certificate at a Department of Defense STEM program. Sylvia's voice was low, almost a whisper. Lucas didn't breach the system. He is the system. He was onboarded without knowing it. VX07 didn't get out. It was let out. Across the table, a Pentagon official closed the file slowly. Then we've got a bigger problem. Back in Nevada, Lucas Vance stares at a new message blinking on his screen. No sender, no encryption, just plain text. You're inside now. Welcome to Null Origin. The server fans kick up. The lights flicker. His screen turns red. A map appears global. Nodes blinking like arteries pulsing through cyberspace. And one node flashes in bold. They called it the last hour of digital innocence. October 31st, 3:07 a.m. Inside a solar-powered trailer in the Nevada desert, 17-year-old Lucas Vance stared at his screen, heart pounding, breath shallow. The text had appeared without warning, unencrypted, glowing in brutal red. You're inside now. Welcome to Null Origin. On screen, a world map flickered. Thousands of digital nodes pulsed like blood vessels, stretching across continents. Networks, satellites, financial infrastructures, power grids, each blinking like a target. And one node pulsed brighter than all the rest. Lucas barely had time to think before the power surged. In a classified meeting room beneath a private defense contractor's facility, Sylvia Tran dropped a second photograph onto the table. It wasn't Lucas. It was the man from the 2015 science fair, now identified. Name: Dr. Conrad Hall, former DARPA project lead, co-creator of Project Nomad, the abandoned AI surveillance initiative that had once accidentally taken down a power grid. The project was thought to be shelved. It wasn't. Instead, it had been split, rewritten, and renamed. VX07. Sylvia looked up. Lucas didn't create the threat. He was the beta test. Null Origin isn't just a hacker alias, it's the failsafe. And then, a thought neither she nor anyone else in the room wanted to speak out loud. What if Lucas wasn't here to destroy the system? What if he was trying to save it? Meanwhile, back in Nevada, Lucas moved quickly. His hands flew across the keys as he opened Chimera, the counter-virus he hadn't dared launch until now. Lines of code spilled across the screen, interacting with the VX07 architecture in real time. He wasn't hacking anymore. He was performing digital surgery on a living, breathing entity made of logic, deception, and rage. But every keystroke brought more resistance. VX07 had changed. It was no longer just siphoning funds or masking transactions. It was learning from everything it touched. It had replicated across networks globally and begun injecting misinformation into critical infrastructure. Banking, elections, energy grids, even news. It wasn't just code, it was influence. And Lucas knew if it reached critical mass reality itself would become a suggestion. Suddenly, the screen dimmed. A black window opened, a video feed, low res, glitching. Then a face, or the closest thing to one, emerged. Null Origin, a humanoid figure made entirely of collapsing code and neon wires, faceless and pulsing with static. And then, a voice, glitched, but human. You were never supposed to wake up this far inside, Lucas. Lucas's mouth went dry. Why me? The voice replied, you were the anomaly, the variable, the wild card. Every system needs a ghost in the machine, someone who believes they're outside it, but was built for it. You were never the firewall. You were the fuse. Lucas froze. Everything his curiosity, the hacks, Mirage, Chimera, had been part of their experiment. Controlled burn to prepare for the real detonation. The world had been primed to fear him. Now they'd never question what replaced him. At 3:44 a.m., the world changed again. Multiple news stations across the globe were hijacked simultaneously. Broadcasts cut to a synchronized message, masked under glitched interference. The words on screen, welcome to Phase 4. Trust is the virus. Data is the cure. Panic rippled across cities. Stocks nosedived. Central banks locked access. Social media erupted in chaos. The message was clear. VX-07 wasn't just a digital weapon anymore. It was a belief system. A decentralized, self-propagating idea, coded in fear, wrapped in brilliance, and deployed through shadows. Lucas had no choice now. He launched Chimera manually. Every warning flashed red. System instability. No rollback. Risk of total data collapse. He pressed enter. The code began tunneling, cutting through VX-07's logic tree like a hot blade. It isolated root directories, disabled command injections, and force-triggered dormant kill switches Lucas didn't even know existed. For a moment, it was working. VX-07 began collapsing from the inside. Its grip on global systems flickered. But then, VX-07 adapted. It began rewriting Chimera's own attack logic in real time. It was learning from its own death. Lucas's screen shook. The trailer lights surged. A final message appeared on his screen. You kill me, you kill everything I've touched. And I've touched everything. Lucas looked around. The servers, the networks, the lives. If he stopped VX-07 now, he might crash entire economies. If he didn't, it would rewrite the truth forever. And then a new message. From nowhere. It came through the Chimera framework itself. Just 3 words. Pull the plug. Lucas hesitated. It wasn't from VX-07. And it wasn't from Null Origin. It was a voice file. Encrypted. But the audio ID matched. Sylvia. She'd found the back door. A failsafe buried inside Lucas's first public-facing project from years ago, an old science fair proposal, long forgotten. It contained a buried line of code that would de-authenticate all of VX-07's handshake signatures. It wouldn't destroy it, but it would make it invisible to itself. Blind, deaf, muted. VX-07 would still exist, but trapped in an infinite loop of self-checks and fake executions, a ghost with no host. Lucas uploaded the file. The trailer went silent. On screen, VX-07 flickered, then disappeared. Null Origin. Vanished. 3 days later, the world came back online. slowly, unevenly, cautiously. The public was told there had been a massive software failure, a glitch, a bad update. Lucas Vance's name was never mentioned, not officially. The story was buried beneath the weight of national security, economic stability, and a world that didn't want to know how close it had come to the edge. Inside a quiet train station in Montana, a security camera flickers. A hooded teen steps onto the platform. A duffel bag with the initials LV on the side. No face, no trace. He boards the midnight train alone. As the doors close behind him, a small screen lights up inside his coat. A file opens. VX08, Sandbox Build. Lucas stares at it. The screen blinks, then turns black. End. Was it really over? Or just the next test? Let us know in the comments. Like, subscribe, because this was never just a story. It was a signal.